Yeah. Here's Aaron's. Can't use it in White Claw is the title of his review. It says, what are we supposed to do with our spare time in the absence of lawn poker and a beer while others hold the glass? You can thank me later for this recipe for success. He had a whole section on there about...
No, that was Josh's.
Is that Josh's?
That's Josh's.
Now, what's the reaction to it from other people?
That's Josh Penn's.
Okay, the title. I thought the title was Aaron Rodgers, but yeah, Aaron had a whole thing in there about Martians with 3 boobs, and it was funny, dude.
I have it somewhere. Let me. Yeah, his was really, really funny.
Is that a Turning Point shirt?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm a big proponent of their beers.
Yeah, clearly.
I can find it.
It's the only review he's written.
Or because I won a master brewer competition, cap and hair, and got a free t-shirt.
Oh, gotcha.
So, Brandon,
Okay, these are the 2 here?
yeah, that's the 2 Czech darks. That might be the reason I have this shirt.
It doesn't strike me as the type of brewery that you...
Yeah,
Oh,
his was.
come on.
Please don't
need
I'm
poker
open-minded.
beer.
I can drink beer anywhere.
Dude, that other New Braunfels one is great.
The wine one?
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
It's not as good as the other one, but it's still really good. I probably should have got clean glasses. Oh, fuck, that's good.
Which one was that?
It tastes like a Baltic port.
Is it from that one?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was almost a Schwarzbier with a roast.
Yeah, mine's a little cleaner, a little crisper, a little more chocolate too.
Yours is a little more like a port, like a Baltic porter, I
Right.
think. Or Schwarzbier, but it's got a little bit of a chocolatey flavor to it. I think they're very different.
Yeah,
Both really clean fermentations.
Yeah, I was really happy how mine turned out. I actually really like that beer. It needed to finish just a hair dryer. It finished at about 10:18, 10:19. But
I would never guess it was that high.
But it didn't.
I would never guess either one of them were that high. They
No,
both drink really easily.
Mine isn't. Mine's...
Oh, I thought you said it finished real high.
No, that was the bot.
Oh,
was
that's
the
right. That's right.
Yeah, I mean this finished at a 10:19, I think it was. Which
I would never know that.
it didn't drink. It doesn't drink like that at all.
See, I think yours is closer to a Schwarzbier. I think yours is closer to a Baltic
Okay.
porter. Yeah.
Well, a Czech dark is very similar to a Schwarz. I mean, it's,
it should be pretty similar. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Lalonde was saying because I had to brew this for class. He said he wanted it a little bit drier. He goes, you get it a little bit drier. He goes, and it's on point.
Mm-hmm.
I was really happy with it.
I think it's super drinkable.
Like,
yeah, those are both great.
That's what it is. It's so drinkable. Is what I really liked about it. Like
A little bit more of a roast on Nigel's on the back.
Nigel's, yeah, a little bit more roast. Mine's just really clean and crisp. You get a little bit of the bitterness. You get a little chocolate. But it's just really clean. Like, so that's only my second lager ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Fermentation's great.
I mean, you still see though. It's still.
I haven't done a lager yet. I plan on it. That alt beer I did was a first actually temperature controlled.
I haven't tried mine yet.
Fermentation I've ever
Your
done.
alt beer.
Yeah.
Michael refuses to try mine. It's fine.
Why did you
anymore.
refuse to try it? What a
I don't
dick.
know.
You brought it to class and I didn't drink it. And then what else have you brought it up?
I brought it to the shop and I brought it to the meeting.
Oh my
it's
God.
weird.
The Susie Beer Mitt. Knit beverage insulating koozie beer glove.
Oh wait, that might
Keeps
be the
your
next
drink
one.
cold and your hand warm. So do we want to do that or the big mouth dumbbell beer glass?
Hold on, I gotta see what our two options.
So this is a glove that has a koozie built into it.
Oh, I don't know.
basically. That's like Edward 40 hands.
My Czech dark's about 10-10.
10-10? Okay.
Yeah. It's there.
Honestly, yours tastes like it's a
there.
higher gravity than... Because it's got a little bit more of like a creamier mouthfeel.
Right.
And I think there's like a chocolate that comes out of it. They're both really good.
Yeah,
See, I get chocolate on the nose on mine. No, I think either one of those would be good.
Like this they call it a wine cooler, but it looks like a beer briefcase.
Yeah, you can get like 12 cans in there, right?
Yeah.
It looks like 8.
A beer briefcase.
Maybe
Yeah.
8, sorry.
Maybe
Yeah, it's
10.
not 6 across, it's 4
There's
across.
10. Yeah,
Oh, is it
it's 5
5?
across,
Okay.
Was that a way to hide your beer?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're having to
Those
hide
I've
your
seen
if you're
before.
having to hide your beer though, you might have a problem. I'm
Yeah,
just
the
Or-
problem is that the other parents at the kid's birthday party are uptight as
Or you're drinking Bud Light. There you go.
Yeah, I know. I like that.
shit. There's also the Viking
helmet.
can
yes.
holder helmet.
Yes, yes.
that has 19 reviews though. Wait, what's the bullet?
Oh, I have one of these. The shot glass. It's pretty cool.
What's the old apron over there?
Good night, Brew. That's
The
a
novelty U.S. Americana themed beverage holder beer belt that says "Make America Drunk Again."
I think that's it.
Good Night Brew,
It's
a parody for beer
113
people.
yeah.
It's 113 reviews on that one.
I've
So
actually
we're trying to do something with low.
There's
low reviews,
232 reviews on this Good Night Brew book.
I've actually read that book.
Have you?
It's pretty funny.
Oh, how about the beer stockings over there?
I don't know. I kind of liked either the dumbbell, the
I
first
think
two
either
at the
dumbbell
top.
or
Like
the koozie glove.
the koozie glove was pretty great.
Kittens with Mittens episode.
Well, see, that has 106. Let's do the dumbbell this time. It's only got 65 reviews on it.
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, what can be better than lifting weights?
And drinking at the same time.
Because you're rewarding yourself with beer as you're lifting weights.
If you can somehow fit butt chugging in there in a way that it doesn't get pulled from Amazon, then you get an extra shirt.
Orifice siphoning.
Right. Sphincter ingestion. Okay.
Got about 2.5 minutes. So we're doing pale ales, right?
Another interesting Amazon
Yeah.
thing coming.
Should we get those ready?
Damn it! Stupid phone.
Just be like Stubby and don't care. Send it anyway.
No, it didn't record it. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it just didn't make any sense. Just hit send and then read it later.
So our website says we have 9 minutes.
What?
Yeah, it lags behind.
Bad.
There's a 9-minute lag time.
That's a lot. I didn't think it was that much, but
Should
I
be
know.
about
Should
20
be.
seconds.
Oh, it's been a lot more than 20 seconds in the past.
Let's have a look here.
Well, it's been 20 seconds.
Is
Since
it all
I've been
one?
doing
Is
this.
it all one feed, or did you stop the feed?
I stopped it because that's how I was trained to do it.
Yeah, no, that works. I've got 1:39 on here,
Oh, okay.
so it's
He's
30
just
seconds
looking
behind.
at the-
It's 20. 4. Yeah, it's 24 seconds behind.
Alright. Yeah, that's where it usually is. 20 something, 30 something.
Unless this was.
Well, that means we got about. We got about 40 seconds left till we're back on. Does the music go back on, or?
So did we turn audio off while we were not recording?
What?
Did we turn audio off?
All right. Well, welcome back from the break. Apparently,
There was no break.
Yeah, y'all got a glimpse behind the curtain, and I'm sure that you were wowed at the
Way to go,
sophistication
Tyler.
and the level of
mistakes
intellectual,
happen from
technical
time to
talk that
time.
goes on during the break. So
The level was low.
the level was low. Yeah.
We talked
Actually, that was probably, if that was ever going to happen, that was probably one of the better times
Yeah,
for
it
it
was,
to happen
yeah.
because we were actually just talking about beer and what.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody heard what we're doing for our Patreon thing here, but
Hey, what's up, Doug? I see Doug is watching.
Doug's in.
No, Doug
From,
Nipper from Cowtown.
Oh, cool.
What's up, Doug? Pity about your
I don't know
Nashville
why I would think
Predators.
Doug
They're
Zent
not
was
very
watching.
good, but hey, you know.
All right, so welcome back from the break. As we promised, we're going to do a Patreon giveaway here, and actually, I want to do a Patreon and non-Patreon giveaway. We're going to do one Patreon with this, and then one any listener who can be a Patreon or not a Patreon or whatever. If you're a Patreon listener, you're going to get 2 shirts. Two shirts.
One of them's going to fit.
Right. And if you're a non-Patreon listener, you'll get 1 shirt. What we want to do
So
is
for the are we just gonna give him some come and brew it,
well, we're definitely gonna do come and brew it shirts.
and then for the Patreon he'll get an extra him or her.
well, I'll let you
we get an extra shop shirt.
I'll let you work that out with the power that be.
I got it.
All right.
I'll
all
take
right.
care of
You
it.
heard it. Mike's got it. So what we did recently a couple of times was a couple products we talked about. We had people go on and leave reviews on
The beer poker.
yes, the casual panache beer poker was a really funny one. We had one listener that posted a good one, and then Aaron Rodgers also posted a good one, but got deleted, not surprisingly.
And I couldn't find his review on my email, but Josh Penn. He had the first one on the casual panache beer poker, and
Beer poker for poking beer.
and his was really good. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers was really funny, but I don't know. He talked about 3 boobs, so I think that got it.
Yeah. I think when they talked about 3 boob Martians, they pulled it off there. Tonight's product that we're going to do here is on Amazon. It's called the Big Mouth Inc. Dumbbell Beer Glass. Great gag gift for weightlifters, exercise fanatics. It's a beer glass shaped like a dumbbell, and it says, "Yes, I do work out lifting beer." So we want to see a couple of good, funny, creative reviews on there. There's a lot of bad reviews on the product. People say the stickers come off and stuff like that. So we want to see a good, fun review from some people on there. Hopefully, you could even work in some sort of reference to butt chugging that is friendly enough that Amazon will not delete it. That would be a bonus for us. So go on there, leave that.
You have a strange obsession about butt chugging.
Yeah, well,
It's
funny, man.
You and Mikey Brown.
It's funny. I mean,
Miss you, Mikey. Where are you?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Actually, Mikey did say that he's finishing up school and he's getting a new job, and he will be more available.
Awesome.
Coming up soon. So
Can't
we
wait for
really
the butt
look
chugging
forward-
discussions
Right,
between
right.
you
Yeah,
two.
I know. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, he has been in college for a while, so he's got to have some butt chugging stories, right? I mean,
Probably.
so at any rate, go on there and take a screenshot of the review you leave and send it to us. Whether you can private messages to us or put it on our Facebook page or whatever, and we'll send you some free crap.
You can't call it crap. It's
Some
quality
free stuff.
products.
It is. No, it is good stuff. They're good shirts.
Yes, they are.
And,
They're
and
coming
Mike will
brew-
take care of you.
They're coming brew at radio shirts. I don't even have the white shirt like that.
I was thinking that when I walked in tonight too. I'm like, I don't have any.
Where the hell did these shirts come from?
So will it piss you off to know I got 2?
Maybe a little bit.
I
Okay.
believe you brought those back from Portland, right?
We actually took them out to Portland and then brought them back
Right,
again
right.
from Portland because we didn't hand them out
Yeah,
at
like a
Portland.
year
I
ago.
seem to
correct,
remember carrying around a big backpack full of
Yeah,
those
they were
things
heavy,
for
weren't
2
they?
days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
Brandon's
spent
like,
so
wait,
much time
it's
screwing
all
with the
coming
equipment
back.
that we never gave out.
And you ended up with none of them after that? Right?
Yeah, I didn't end up with any of them.
Nah.
Now, to be fair, I can't be trusted with a white shirt.
Well, you did get 14 Omega Yee shirts, right?
No, just one.
Okay, just
one.
checking.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so let's get into our main topic here. We're going to go back and taste some of our pale ales that we did as part
Ooh,
of our
pale ales.
Making Beer Again series, where we're talking about American pale ales that are actually pale ales and not IPAs.
I would rather serve you more of my Czech dark lager
Yes.
than
Well,
than
I
my
would
pale
rather
ale.
drink more of your Czech lager than drink any of my pale ale. To refresh your memory, what we did was we kind of had just a loose recipe that we were going to do, which was some base malt with some caramel malt. We were kind of working off of a clone recipe of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale that was published in Brew Your Own magazine, which, if I remember right, was 10 pounds of 2-row and 1 pound of Crystal 60.
Yes.
So let's kind of go around and talk about what it is we brewed and pull out our beers. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and start with mine, because mine, I guarantee you, is the worst beer here.
I don't know. Mine's not very good.
Mine, I don't know. Mine might be good. Mine might not be good.
So
So we'll see.
I think what this
I haven't really
challenge-
tasted it.
What
so.
this challenge did for me was highlight the fact and remind me that this is not an easy beer to brew. And I dialed mine back to Crystal 40. I didn't even use 60 because I generally don't like to get over 40. I like the lower caramels, and I especially didn't want the caramel to be too heavy in the body of this. And then I was going
You're not
for
down
something.
with the swirl.
What?
You're not down with the swirl.
The swirl?
With caramel.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Carry on.
Okay. So I was going super traditional with mine. I just
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
know
go
what
straight
down with the
Cascade all the
swirl
way
means,
through.
but that
I don't
reference
either.
didn't.
Carry on.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let me grab my beer.
Oh, come on. Let's start with yours, and you're not ready.
Okay, it's right here. See, it didn't take long. You're okay.
That's what
So
she said.
I went down to 40 on my crystal, and I just went. I bittered with Magnum, and then went Cascade through the whole thing. I think I did the old school, like 30-minute, 15-minute, 5-minute addition on the hops, just to kind of get an even balance of bitterness and flavor and aroma. Theoretically, that was the theory behind what was going to happen. So here's what I came up with.
You
Everybody,
ready? You're going to catch?
kinda- yeah,
Yeah, you did. Well done.
I did. See, I never give up,
So,
except on
Aaron-
this beer.
Aaron, since you haven't, he just commented he had a death in the family, so he hasn't
Sorry,
been able to
dude.
brew his pale ale. But he's going to brew it on Monday. So maybe learn from our
Yes, learn
critique
from
on
what
our,
we're saying
on our
here,
beers
Aaron.
and maybe tweak yours a little bit.
Is that cheating?
Okay, so it
No.
has nice head retention.
Tyler, here you go.
I can say that so far.
So remember, I said my firm chamber was broken. So what I did was I used hothead on this, and I think the hothead got right down to where I wanted. If I remember right, this was 1055 was the original gravity, and it got down to 1012, which was a couple points higher than I would like it, but still right in the range. It is a massive caramel bomb, I think.
See, I don't get
It's on the dark side,
Yeah,
and I don't mean Darth Vader.
I'm telling you, when I put it in the
Yeah,
fermenter, I thought, "Oh shit, that looks really dark."
It's dark and it's a little hazy. What did you hop this with?
Cascade.
With just Cascade. That's right, just
I
Cascade.
bittered with Magnum and then Cascade all the way through.
Okay.
To me, this tastes like
It's very minerally.
my second batch of beer I ever made. You know, it's like
I'm
I'm not
definitely-
giving this to anybody. I wasn't even going to bring it tonight because
I'm glad you did.
embarrassed
I mean,
by it.
we all should bring our lows as well as our highs.
Oh, I do.
It's, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not awful,
I'm drinking it.
but there's definitely something on the back end that I'm getting.
There's some.
Is it maybe the minerally, like you said,
Yeah,
or it
I wa-
almost
I wa-
comes across banana-esque or like almost like a hef yeast?
Well, it's not
to me, maybe.
minerally. It's not in fact minerally. I mean,
Right.
Not
No, that's
that it
right.
doesn't taste
Yeah.
that way, but it's not in fact. I have very soft water.
Right.
And I did real minimal water additions on this. Just a little bit more. It was calcium sulfate, I think, that was the main addition. But I think the high level of caramel malt flavor that comes through also comes with weird
Maybe
flavors
so.
that aren't
Yeah.
straight caramel flavor. You know
Yeah,
what
exactly.
I mean?
I'm not getting a ton of the caramel that you're talking about, but I'm getting.
So
You're not getting a ton of caramel in that?
well. So here's the thing, right? We've had
Well, true.
we've had caramel pretty much all through the night, with the bitter, with the Czech darks and stuff. So we've had. So maybe our palates are used to caramel.
Well, I think
our
when
little-
caramel gets above a certain level, it stops tasting like caramel malt, and you start getting these weird off flavors.
Maybe so.
and,
Yeah.
and maybe that's what I'm picking up on. Some different weird stuff.
So you used 60? No, you
I
used
used
40,
40.
but you used a pound of it.
Pound and a quarter.
Pound and
I
a
upped
quarter.
it just a little bit because I was going down in color, and I was going by this recipe out of Brew Your Own. Thanks a lot, Brew Your Own.
asshole.
Um,
no.
I wouldn't go over a half pound the next time I did this. I
And
would
how
cut
much
it,
base malt?
11 pounds.
11 pounds.
of
Okay.
Planet. I use the Planet malt, which is a little bit. I'm finding that is definitely a little darker than
a
the
little
other malts.
darker.
I when we come to mine, I also use Planet.
So mine's a little darker too. I honestly, I had to pour this morning to make sure it was carbonated. About 8 o'clock this morning. I'm drinking beer, testing them, make sure they're good to come.
That's
And
part
it's-
of what was that the statistic on the survey? Daily samples.
Exactly.
You were just sampling, right?
Ex-
Yeah,
I was
there
sampling.
wasn't a what time do you start sampling question on there, was there?
No, there wasn't.
So
Everybody would have lied about that
9
too.
a.m. in the morning.
so this one, I don't know. We'll see. I wasn't overly impressed with it.
So what was your recipe? So your color is a lot more pale ale-ish than mine is.
Yeah, it actually is, surprisingly. So
Yeah.
here you go, Nigel.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were.
Well, I should have gone the other way. Let me see. I pulled it up. I used a touch of both Victory and, let me see, Sandra sent it to me. So this one I used 12 ounces of Crystal 20, 12 ounces of Victory, and 10 pounds of Planet. I bittered with a 1/4 ounce of Warrior at 60, and then I used an ounce of Zythos at 10 and 5, and then I dry hopped with some Zythos.
See, on paper, I like that recipe a lot.
And then I used the Voss. I used
the Voss, okay.
So you both use Kvike.
Yeah, we both used
Yeah,
Kvike.
I used mine
and
out
we
of
both used
necessity.
Planet.
Yeah.
Planet with the Kvike. So we'll see.
All right, Tyler, before you go. Pass that
that's
pass that to Brandon, and this one's yours.
All right, let's see this. So it's very cloudy,
yeah, it's definitely hazy. It's,
but the color I think is much more spot on than mine.
I didn't cold crash it like I normally would because I was lagering.
That is much closer than mine. But I will say that it tastes cloudy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I get that.
Like
I see what you're saying. It's
what was the finishing gravity on it too?
10-ish, 10-12.
Yeah, see, there you can still get a lot of something in solution. There is the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that Voss kind of a powdery yeast? Is it? I know it doesn't drop out like the hothead does.
No.
the hothead's super.
And now that you say that there was a little bit more, definitely some more stuff on the top. It definitely was more powdery. Now that you say that, yeah, that's very.
I
much
think
what it
this
was.
is one of those beers that, as it sits in the keg and drops clearer,
It's going to continue.
it's
going to
get better and better
Yeah, I
because
think
I
so.
really like the hop level in it. I think your bitterness is right on. I like the hop flavor. It's not like climbing out of the glass with hop aroma or anything like that. So it's not an IPA. It is on a pale ale level. And
Did you dry hop? You say
I did dry hop.
how long?
5 days at most, 3 to 5
with Zythos. Or?
with the Zythos. Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
I think it's just young is all.
And
it's
you're,
green.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
It is still a little young. I don't know. We'll see how.
I think
how
it's
it
just
ages.
once that stuff drops out, the body is going to dry out a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's just going to be a little crisper.
Yeah.
And the mouthfeel is going to be a little bit better, and it just needs to drop out.
Now, Brandon, you brewed with Chris on yours, right? You split a batch.
No, I brewed by myself on this one.
Gotcha.
I did split the batch. I have the other half here. I was going to save it till
Yeah.
afterwards because
Okay.
I put Belgian yeast on it. It's not a pale ale.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
the better half of the beer.
I thought you brewed with Chris on yours.
no,
Okay.
not on this one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is definitely hazy, but outside of that, the color is lighter than
Color's good.
Hey,
The-
what beer isn't hazy these days?
exactly. I'm going
American
for
pale ale.
Oh yeah,
That's-
sorry, my mistake. Yeah.
and see, and I guess it's one of those. I have Macy in my head. If you have to think about it, it's not just. And I'm like, am I thinking about this? Am I, and like I.
No, I think it's really
Thanks,
good.
Macy. You mess with my mind.
Well, after earlier, he messed with all our minds. I mean, he made an appearance.
See, I'd be
Yeah.
curious to see this brewed just with USO5.
Yeah.
Just a neutral
Yeah.
yeast, and because I think the grain bill and I think the hop schedule are both good. I like them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Tyler, yours. You got your
Do we want to go with yours?
growler here.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
You ready?
He's the shiny.
You gonna catch again?
The shiny, yeah.
All right. So you're gonna tell us about your beer?
Oh.
Oh, did you get that?
Freaking ninja.
So you're gonna tell us about your beer there?
It was all down to the throw.
Okay, yeah. So Sandra did correct me. My beer finished at a 10-10. So that's what I thought. 10-10,
I thought that's what
10-12.
she said.
I think I said 10-12, but yeah, close.
All right,
Close
so
enough.
I did 10 pounds Pale Planet, 1 pound Mahogany, which is a 20 level bond,
You said you did 1 pound
1
of
pound
the IRX?
20,
Okay.
4 ounces Rosewood, which is 40, and 2 ounces Teak, 60.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Base malt was Planet,
Base Malt Planet.
and then some 20, some 40, some 60.
Was yours Planet too, Mike?
Mine was plain.
Okay.
I think that's a constant between them all.
We're all a bunch of crackheads, you know that?
How did you hop it, Tyler?
All right, I only did one bittering.
Our
Hop
beer looks
edition
similar.
at 40 minutes, Mosaic.
At 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Interesting.
40 minutes.
Of Mosaic.
The
Okay.
IBUs came out to 38
Okay.
So why 40 minutes? That's
because 60 would have put it over the.
IBU levels, right?
All right.
I am amazed at how much hop character is in that with one 40-minute edition.
I mean, that's only the bittering. I did dry hop it. So I dry hopped it with Citra, Hull Melon, and Mosaic. So for 4 days, I let the Citra sit in there, 2 ounces of Citra sit in there, and then
Okay.
for 2 days I let Hull Melon and Mosaic sit in there.
It's got a ton of hop character.
It
to
does. I mean,
I think it
but
starts
very
to
low bitterness.
drift over. Yeah, the bitterness is really nice on it. It starts to drift a little bit into that IPA hop character, I think. Just a little bit, though. I mean, it's not overly.
No. Yeah.
I mean, let's
like
let's
it.
refer back to the guidelines.
To guidelines, you know, if we were to judging it, I might knock it some, but
Moderate to
fell-
strong hop aroma,
it's got that.
moderate
Yeah.
to high hop flavor.
It's
So,
got that.
yeah.
I think it's on the high end,
Yeah.
but I don't know that it's too much.
No, and I think you might be right. It's definitely like teetering between that high end of the pale ale, the low end of the IPA, but
PAs, yeah.
What's the ABV on it, Tyler? So at 10, what was that?
5.7.
5.7? Yeah. Boy,
Yeah,
that
so
one came
that's-
out really nice. I like
Yeah,
that.
his
Both
did,
of,
like-
both of yours are good, man.
that Zythos hop really kind of I almost kind of want to play a little bit more with it because it's a hot blend.
So both of you kind of went more on the new end of hops.
Leakage.
Well, that's just great. You ruined the whole show. I need to get one of these. What are they called?
Cakeworks? Is
You-
it Cakeworks or
Growler Works?
Growlerworks, that's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And I like those. Every time I use them, I like them a lot. Okay, well, that's what yeast did you use, Tyler? Voss. Okay. You know the Voss really works
Michael?
nice for it.
So maybe we should have discussed this a little bit more because we all used because I know Sandra's version she used Planet also. We all used Planet.
It's a 2-roll pale malt. I mean,
I used Voss. Tyler used Voss. What'd you use?
I used Hothead, which is
Used
it's a much more neutral, but
Well,
you know, it's
Sandra used
closer to a
she
Cal
used
Ale.
Horndal.
We'll come
So
on to
so we all used Norwegian yeast
Nope.
with the same, except for Nigel, of
and,
course.
and Greg.
Okay, so
So we'll come on to that in a bit.
All right. But you know they're not. I don't think those yeasts have characters that get outside of what. The
No, I think
base-
that,
No, and
I think
I
they're
think you're right.
appropriate.
Yeah. And the Hothead is real neutral. There is something about Hothead though, even though it doesn't have a defined like ester profile to it. It has a different character than just like a neutral USO5 or 1056 or something.
so something about our music again is getting
Yeah,
it
there
flagged for International Olympic Committee rights.
Yeah.
International Olympic Committee. Huh?
Yeah.
That's what it just. The Macy
So we've
clip with the intro music played in the middle.
Maybe
again.
it's something to do with that.
It's something about the Macy. Damn
Really?
it, Macy.
Well, you know, Lalonde had a theory that it was our Amazon thing that got it pulled off. And that's the second time we've done Amazon, and it's the second time they pulled it off with Amazon.
That's possible too.
I don't know how you can not be allowed to talk about Amazon on a podcast. I mean,
Amazon. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, Amazon. You can't keep me down.
y'all are the big global conglomerate. Okay, so this one is.
So this is Nigel's. Tell us about yours,
Tell
Nigel.
us about yours.
Okay, so Greg and I brewed together. We split a batch. Greg did his version, and I must admit I can't remember how he hopped his, but I will gladly tell you how I did mine. So it was 11 pounds of Planet, and it was half a pound of Crystal 40, just a straight half pound of Munton's 40.
Okay. So that's basically what I was saying I would have done next time. And
Yeah.
I do think that the caramel level in this is right.
Right, and so I put my recipe together and I sent it to Greg, and Greg sent. I said to Greg, "What are you thinking?" And he said, 11 pounds of Planet and half pound of Crystal. I said, "That's exactly what I've got." The colors are identical, aren't they?
Very, very similar.
Yeah.
On which
And
is
then there's
interesting.
My piece of shit.
That's a stout.
but
Amber. Or something, yeah.
but we went very different on how we
How we came up
you
with
got
that.
but we
Yeah.
all basically got very similar color.
Yeah,
Yeah, Tyler actually had quite a bit of different crystal malt going on in there.
but it all equated out to the same thing.
Well,
Same
see, I
color.
threw Victory in mine, which is
Well,
A
yeah,
little
that's
weird.
not going to. But all that's going to do is add a little bit to the roast more than anything, right? Victory.
I think Victory is more along the lines of Munich.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a similar Munich.
Yeah.
To me.
Gotcha. Okay. So on the hops, I went with half an ounce of Magnum, German Magnum, at 60. I kind of went with the same sort of philosophy you did of the breaking down the hop additions. I actually had a 60, a 45, and a 30, and then a flame out. So I had the Hallertau Magnum or the German Magnum at 60. I had some Centennial at 45, half an ounce of Centennial at 30, and then at flame out, an ounce of Cascade and an ounce of Centennial. And I have actually dry hopped this with an ounce of Centennial for about 4 days.
So you had a 60, a 45,
And a 30.
and a 30.
But half ounce of Magnum only adds about 20 IBUs. Anyway,
That's how
at
recipes
60.
used to be.
Yeah.
Years ago, everything had a 60, 30, 20, 15, 5, whatever.
Right.
And we've gotten away from that a lot. And I personally, I like that we've gotten away from that. I don't know that makes a whole lot of sense. Yours has the higher bitterness of all of them.
Right, and it's still by the numbers still below 40 IBUs. It's 39.4.
Nice.
Which let's see here. Let me get back to the guidelines.
I think it's 30 to 50.
30 to 45.
30
so
to
you're pretty
45,
close to
okay.
the upper end on it.
Yeah, so I wanted to keep it below 40 just to be sure to be under. But yeah, I think it's more. I think it's more that the crystal isn't there to counteract the bitterness more than I've upped it in IBUs.
Well, what's your ABV?
4.96.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are towards the low end of ABV and
actually,
towards the high end of IBU.
Actually, it's probably higher than that. It's actually higher than that because that's based off what Beersmith is telling me, and it dried out more than 1014. It was down to about 1008, so it's going to be a bit higher than that.
But you're still, if you're looking at IBUs to ABV relationship there, you're on the high end of IBUs, and you're in about the middle on ABV.
ABV, yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I still like yours a lot better than mine. I like all of these a lot better than mine. Personally, my favorite is Tyler's.
Yeah.
I think Tyler's really came out nice.
Yeah,
I really like
absolutely. Yeah, I
Appreciate
say it's
that.
it's borderline that.
With mine finishing second.
Yours is a close second. Yeah.
I'm
actually,
just competitive.
I don't
so,
I don't know that we know exactly what yours is yet because it still needs a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I think. I think once this dropped out and the body thinned out a little bit, it'll be a little better.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, it's kind of surprised me. Life's gotten in the way, and I haven't taken care of the beer as I should.
As we do, yeah.
So this one is, and if it's shit, I'm gonna need to readjust things. But
Oh shit!
and it's probably the brewing practice. But this is the Hairpin IPA from Hop Fusion or
Oh,
Hairpin,
the rye.
the rye pale ale. They called it. I put it in Beersmith. That's an IPA. But it's the Hop Fusion beer that Macy that they no longer produce. He gave me the recipe, so we're gonna turn it into a kit.
This was one that I used to order all the time when I first went to
me
Hop
too.
Fusion. I love this beer.
Well, and talking to the employees, Matt Gurley, who's their taproom manager, great guy. He said this was like an employee favorite beer, and it just didn't sell. So we'll see how my version came out. Like I said, life's
Nigel
gotten in the way,
Catch.
so stuff. So stuff has sat a little bit longer than
I'm
it
not as
should.
good as
but
you are.
But it's I think this beer, once we turn it into a kit, is going to be a great homebrew beer, because this is something that homebrewers drink and something they enjoy.
Do you have any idea off the top of your head what the percentage of rye is in it?
It's low.
Okay, good. Then it will make a good kit.
So I have the recipe right here.
Man, it's good.
It's-
That really came out nice.
It's 4 ounces of rye, 8 ounces of caramel 120,
Well, that's almost nothing. That's a very low percentage of rye.
1 1/4 pounds of Munich, and 9.75 of pale malt.
Nice.
So it's really the rye's real subtle, but you definitely get the rye.
I must
Yeah,
admit,
you do.
I'm shocked knowing having Hairpin at the brewery and being able to taste the rye. Now, I'm shocked that the rye is that low in it.
Me too. Yeah.
Is that
You know?
and
it
that's
really comes through nice.
so yeah, definitely. So it's you have half an ounce of Chinook at 60, an ounce of Cascade at 30 and 15, an ounce of Centennial at Whirlpool with a 20-minute Whirlpool, or you have both an ounce of Centennial and Chinook at a 20-minute Whirlpool at 194, and then an ounce of Amarillo dry hop for 5 days on USO5. You know, it's
nice, man. I like it.
so again, that's something that we're kind of toying with.
Much like the Rabbit Hole Rapture kit that we've got.
Yeah.
I think the homebrew level comes out really, really
Yeah, it
close
does.
to what the brewery beer was. It makes me miss this beer now.
Wow. So
Nice and
again,
clean.
this is a beer that I've tried 1 or 2 samples of, and I've just kind of kegged it. I've had a little bit of CO2 leaking problems, so I haven't kept everything on tap. I've mainly just been drinking that Czech Dark.
Yeah, I could see that.
So this is the first like real chance I've had to both try my pale ale and this, and they aren't as bad as I thought. Like this is actually really
that's spot on, man. That's
the
a really
rye
nice
on
beer.
this is really nice. Like it.
Well,
you
and
get
that's
that
a really manageable amount to brew with too, because
Yeah.
man, you get too much rye. I always forget what a pain in the ass it is to brew with until I brew a rye beer. Then I'm like, oh crap, this is all going to go horribly wrong.
Well, and it's one of those, so this recipe, I mean, the rye on this is 4 ounces, and the grain bill's give or take 13 pounds, 12. So I mean, the rye is real minimal, but you definitely get that spiciness of the rye.
Yeah,
The
you
rye's
do.
definitely there,
You do.
and
It's
so this is a kid. Austin and Stubby are leaving to go to Germany, so when they get back, probably right around Thanksgiving.
when they get back, when the kit's ready, we'll do some sort of a coupon code on here, maybe a
Definitely.
giveaway for a kit, something
Yeah.
like that. This is one that I think anybody would be happy to brew it and come out with this result.
Yeah.
I'd blow through that keg fast, fast. Yeah,
That now that I have it on, and
unlike my pale ale, which is
yeah.
going to be
Well,
around for a while.
You know, I had no expectations for the 2 beers I brought in tonight. I knew the Czech Dark. I really dug
that's
that
terrible.
one, but yeah, wow, yours is like
I hate it even more now that I drink yours.
it's so much darker. Like it's almost closer to my
Yeah,
my
well,
rye.
like
I think
say,
is
just,
even
just
even a
putting it
little
in the
lighter
fermenter.
color.
I was like, oh shit, that's dark,
yeah,
man.
the rye is definitely lighter than that.
It's lighter than Brandon's pale ale,
It's
but
terrible. It's an embarrassment.
so yeah, we were. I was just about to transition into the stouts. So
Yes, let's do that.
In our continued make beer again, I think we had a lot of fun with this pale ale. Aaron Rodgers, I hope maybe you learned something. Maybe cut the caramel a little bit.
Yeah, Aaron, listen to this episode before you write your recipe.
He's
because-
listening right
yeah.
now, so maybe cut the caramel some. So
let's get into
continue,
stouts because
definitely.
Our intention in this was to get into styles that used to be real staples in breweries, especially small fledgling craft breweries. It was kind of like they used to open up with 4 staple beers. There was a pale ale, a stout, an amber, and a brown or something like that. They had their lineup or whatever, but there was always a stout in there. And it was not always a big 10, 12, 13% barrel-aged chocolate Cocoa Puff stout or something like
Nigel
that.
has some good
There was
stouts
just a
over there.
regular old stout that you could get, or a milk stout or something like that. And now, and again, just like when we were talking pale ales, I don't mean to crap on any of the stuff that's out there because I really like big, boozy stouts. I love barrel-aged stouts. They're some of my favorite beers in the world. I love them.
Heavily adjunct.
But one thing that I brew a lot because I like it so much, my wife likes it a lot, and you can't find them often. It's just a regular old. I've got an Irish stout that I brew. I've got like a 5.5 or 6% milk stout that I brew, which actually I've taken that recipe and started taking the lactose out of it, and just making a straight up. I guess you'd just call it an American stout, maybe.
Yeah.
And I used to always make oatmeal stouts. They're great beers to just have something on tap this time of year, especially. And when you keep them in a reasonable ABV range, they can be done fairly quickly compared to a 10 or a 12% beer that takes forever to really get to where it needs to be. So that's what we want to talk about. And when I got into writing the outline for this and kind of figuring out what we were going to talk about, I realized that there are a lot of different stouts in the guidelines there. So what I stuck with here for the purpose of this conversation was I got rid of all the high ABV ones and went with just the 5 kind of basic everyday stouts, which are Irish stout, Irish extra stout, sweet stout, oatmeal stout, and American stout.
So it's funny you talk about this. Sandra and I have an ongoing debate. I say she wants to do a session stout, and she wants to do something probably on the low end of an American stout. A 4.5-5% stout that here, when it's 100 degrees in Texas, you can still drink the shit out of.
You're talking about an Irish stout.
Yeah, dry Irish.
Yeah, but that gets a little too dry. So that's why this is interesting.
That's what's going to happen if it gets down into that low ABV.
Yeah.
But that's why this is interesting.
Then do a milk stout.
This isn't the overly adjunct, big barrel aged,
Right.
which that's our jam. Like
what people
that's what Sandra and I dig is those big ass beers.
Yeah, and I love those too. And my wife loves big boozy barrel aged stouts. That kind of. We both do.
Yes.
But she also really likes when I put a 5.5% stout.
Yeah.
On the tap. That is, I think we forget that stouts can be easy drinking beers. They don't have to be. You're going to spend an hour
chewing
with a tulip glass full of this beer. It can be you pour a pint of a stout and drink it with dinner.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's kind of what in the same vein, I like about my Czech Dark, is it has some of those stout characters. But it's on that lighter.
It's along the same lines, drinkable, but there's some roast character and some body to it.
So some of those stout character, or what people. My biggest pet peeve is people that are like, I hate dark beer.
Yes.
Well, dark's just a color. Like I could give you that.
You drink coffee, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So let's kind of talk about what the essence of the stout style is, because I think you get into the same type of discussion when you're talking about porter. You bounce porter and stout off of each other to make a distinction in that a stout is really just going to be more towards the roasty and coffee side of it, where a porter is going to have much more of a chocolate character to it. And then they kind of live in the same territory. Again, I think porters end up getting made really, really big all the time when they don't need to be big.
I think Michael just did some YMCA.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
He did not spill beer everywhere, though.
No, there's just
No.
like lots of comments.
YMCA. Yeah, just lots of YMCA going on.
So when
I was
it
just
comes
saying,
to
basically, like a stout is not a bigger porter, which there's some
No, absolutely
misconception.
not.
No,
Yeah.
it's a completely separate.
it's a different
style.
flavor profile. They're kind of two variations on the same theme, and a stout is going to be much more towards the roast and the coffee type of flavor. And what you'll find as you design these recipes is that when you get into the lower ABVs, you have to be careful just not to overdo your specialty malts. But one of the things I've always said about these, and James Lalonde will agree with me on this too, is that this is a recipe type or style where I don't mind a recipe that's got 6 or 7 different malts in it, that has some complexity to the malt bill, because the beer itself needs some complexity. It's got to have, the base malt has got to kind of come through in it and prop up what's there.
Yeah, the stout style in itself is not it's more of a complex style.
Yes.
Just from the flavor profile.
Yes.
It's not more difficult to brew. It's if you're doing a basic stout, it's very much the same profile and brewing profile, at least, as anything from a smash beer to anything else. You're going to mash the grains just the same way. It's any adjuncts and anything else that you're going to throw in that's going to add to that. If you're doing a basic stout profile let me start again. If you're doing a basic stout beer, the brewing process is going to be the same. The flavor complexity is going to be coming from the grains that you use.
Yeah, and I feel like that the base malt's got to come through.
Yep.
You got to have something in the middle, something in the way of caramel malts. And personally, I like to see a couple different caramel malts in a stout recipe. And then you've got to have your roasted specialty malts in there. And again, I like to see at least 2 different types of roasted malts in a stout recipe.
Because you want something that's going to give it the chocolate roast, maybe something that's going to either give it the coffee roast or give it the dryness that, say, a roasted barley would give.
I was trying to look up okay, here we go. Here's kind of my house milk stout recipe, which has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 malts in it.
Bragger.
That's the most malts I've ever put in a recipe. And normally, if I were to look at a recipe with that in it, I would I'd not like it. But when it comes to stout, I don't mind that at all.
But
I
you
like
use 8
complexity.
pound of roasted barley, so
right. It's mostly roasted barley. There's about a pound of base malt. No, I've got.
See, it's one of those. And working in the shop, I see a recipe like that. I'm like, simplify it. Like, you've made my job a little bit more difficult.
Yeah,
and I say that tongue in cheek.
Right. And most of the time with a lot of recipes, I see complicated ones, and I think simplify it just because you don't need to be this complicated. But with these, I think it makes a difference, and that's one of the cool things about it is I think that there can be a lot more variety in stouts just based on the complexity of the malt bill when it can be the same basic beer, 5.5% oatmeal stout.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
You have 10 of them, and they'll all be different. You know.
So
the other thing is that these generally finish above what your standard everyday beer would. You want these to have a little bit more body, a little bit more chewy, with the exception of an Irish stout, which does get down below 10-10 a lot of times.
Yeah. So we're passing around Deschutes. I can't pronounce this. Is it Obsidian?
Obsidian stout.
Obsidian
yes. Mm-hmm.
stout. I think this is a classic American
Yes.
stout.
And with that being said, I think it literally
if there's any
is
left, pass it back this way.
I'm pretty sure this is a BJCP style
Classic
guideline
style.
beer.
Yeah.
This is one of their, you go to this if you really want to know.
Coming back to you.
Yeah, sure. Because I took a small pour, so if there's any left, I'll take a bit
Yeah,
extra.
I took a small one too, but we just have a 12-ounce bottle. So yeah, this one it has a high level of bitterness and has a bitterness that not only comes from the hops but also comes from the roast in there, and that's okay. It's good. It's not an unpleasant bitterness.
No,
but
it's not.
It's there for sure.
So I think that's something to be said. Just today when I was helping my buddy develop his recipe.
Bye.
It's
I'll be right back.
so it's one of those when you're doing a stout though, there is a certain level of bitterness that needs to be there.
Yeah, there absolutely is, because again, you've got the hops to counteract the sweetness, right?
To sweetness, exactly.
And so if the hops aren't there and the bitterness isn't there, it's just going to be a sweet mess.
Well,
you're going to have the roasted, but it's still not going to dry down enough.
But it's just going to be a lot of roast, and exactly.
You're going to have the roast counteracting the sweetness or fighting against the sweetness, but the dryness of the yeast taking the sugars out will make it cleaner. It will make it more roasty. It will keep the bitterness at the same level.
Just had a pee, man. It's
so-
all right. It's all right. It's
So
okay.
so when doing a standard stout like this,
You got the bladder of worse than Stubby,
We've been drinking all kinds of beer, man.
and he's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a bladder of a 12-year-old girl, and I've told him that on the air. So
so
I'm
when-
surprised that you have such a negative view of 12-year-old girls. I mean, I'm
it's,
disappointed.
it's more the negativity of their bladder compared once it consumed with alcohol.
Whoa. Nigel hangs around.
Yeah, you
Never
took it.
mind.
You took that very, very, very.
we're just gonna move on
South.
from that.
Yeah.
comment.
Let's just move on.
Yeah.
So when brewing an American ale like that or an American stout like this, well, to help give a little bit of that residual sweetness, but you also want some of the hot bitterness, what would you mash at? 152, 154? I mean, 'cause you want some of that chewiness.
You're going to want some of the body,
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
but I would say 152. You're not going to want too much body, but you're going to want a bit of dryness there. So you're going to want to let the yeast chew through what sugars it can, leave what's residual and normal.
You have to remember that that's relative to your ABV also. If you're at the 6% range, it's gonna be different than you're in the 4% range. And 4%, if you want to finish 10 or above, you're gonna have to mash kind of high. But the higher you get, the less it's gonna attenuate. So, and it's dependent on your system too. I've really found that with mine, I have to mash a lot lower than other people do. People talk about mashing at 154 all the time. If I were to do that on my system, I'd end up with a 10-20 beer every time.
So just today I put in I was working up something in Beersmith, and it had just the default for a full-bodied single infusion beer. It had the default mash at 156.
Tyler, is there any left?
Yes.
Send it back this way.
So anyway, but mashing at 156. So I mean, granted, I was writing up a big imperial stout, but even that's incredibly high, and that was Beersmith's default was 156. So
Man,
I
you
think
guys
that's
are
something.
generous.
I think that's something we got to that's a little on the high end.
Jaime Estrada's giving me a hard time on Facebook. Here.
He should
says,
be.
I'm sending you some Kvike other than Voss. Jeez.
Bring it on, Jaime. We definitely.
I have used the Hothead, and I just used Hornendal also on our a recent beer. So,
which I think he might just because those seem so basic. Also,
Send us beer.
they are
send
basic.
us some interesting yeast strains. I would love to brew with them. Tell me what
I really want to do is
styles
if I can get my hands on one of those exotic ones like they're using in that group, I want to use that Kvike ring that he sent me. I've been saving that for an exotic strain so that I can kind of do that in like a heritage type fashion. But that would be great, Jaime. You're right. We're sitting in the slow lane on the Kvike stuff. So
and you're not. So help us out, as in teach us.
He sent us some good some good Kvike beer that he's done with Framgarden, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
which was really
cool.
good.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with that beer. So
Awesome.
Okay,
at any rate, back to the stouts.
So what else you got over there, Nigel, for stouts?
I got plenty, but I'm still drinking this Obsidian because I think it's a fantastic beer.
It is
No,
fantastic. 55 IBUs, 6.4% ABV. So if we
See,
look
55
at the,
IBU surprises me. Just
American Stout is a lot
Right.
higher. Let me get back to I put the American Stout is 35 to 75 IBUs.
That's a wide.
So this is right in the
range.
middle.
That's a wide range.
It is a wide range, 5 to 7% ABV. So they're towards the high end. So it could be more. It could be more in terms of IBUs.
Well, see,
for this.
and I think again one of those, Nigel. You said that's a wide range, and yeah, it is, but I think it's all relative. You're on that 5% of the stout range. You want to be on that 35 IBU. You don't want to be on the low end of one, on the high end of the other. So I think it should be more looked at as a sliding scale. You want to keep it. This is a really good.
It's
example
a fantastic. So
This is
what
a
we
fantastic
just
beer
it's just
here.
a fantastic classic example of a sweet stout.
So let's get into this because this is one of them that's on the list here.
Left-hand milk stout.
Sweet stout, which is also known as milk stout. One of the things that I have found when we were talking to pro brewers who've talked about using lactose is that you don't just put lactose in beer, that you need to brew the recipe with the fact that there's lactose in it in mind. In other words, you need to mash lower because you're adding to the final gravity on it. On a sweet stout, you're only talking 4 to 6 ABV. So it's
Really low.
There's not a whole lot of other malt underneath there, and you don't want it to taste like lactose. Stubby's talked about that for a long time, and I
Yes.
think he's 100% right.
Yeah.
That lactose by itself has a weird taste to it.
You can definitely get a lactose bite. I mean,
I get it a lot whenever I try those milkshake IPAs.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, so I advise all you guys, next time you have a recipe that has 1 pound of lactose, try a little bit of it.
Be careful. Yeah.
But try just a touch of it, just so
Yeah.
you know what that raw lactose tastes like, because it very easily it can go from a sweetness and be good in your beer to, wow, that's all that.
Yeah.
It's almost like a lactose bite that comes through.
Our Sweet Texas Crude, our milk stout kit that we have at
Yeah,
Texas Brew,
yeah.
that does have a pound of lactose in it. So but don't get me wrong, our kits have been tried and tested, and they
All of them are wonderful.
yeah, and that is no different. So a pound of lactose in that kit is appropriate, and you should be fine with that. But just be aware if you other kits that you get with lactose in, just be careful.
I think in general, 5-gallon batch, anything above a pound is too much.
I totally agree with you on
Yeah.
that. And I think a pound is the upper end of it.
Yeah,
I really like
exactly.
more
That's
like
what I was gonna say,
a
like-
half or 3/4.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
I think for the style, and this is a great.
Oh God, that's good.
It's a beer that so many people so many, especially stout people, are looking for the next best great adjunct, imperial, barrel aged, and sometimes, man, something like this left-hand milk
You
stout.
can pour a
is-
pint of this and just sit down and drink it with
just-
dinner.
and
Yeah.
drink and
or
not,
whatever,
Like,
you know?
yes.
So how I liken this is to an English bitter, and I know that's easy for me to go to because it's safe and whatever.
Oh, you always talking about English beer.
Yeah, but here's how.
Well-
all right, don't overthink it.
I agree with that. Yeah.
You know,
And-
an English bitter is a simple, basic recipe that if you brew it in the right way, is going to make you a great beer. This milk stout and left hand is essentially the cornerstone.
I think I have a clone recipe.
This is like one of
The-
these style examples.
Yeah. Just don't
Definitely.
overthink it. Just go with what your gut tells you, and you're going to come out with a great beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a clone recipe here. This is actually one of the simpler stout recipes that you'll come across.
Yep.
Let's see, there's pale malt, Crystal 60, some Munich, roasted barley, chocolate, and oats.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you got to go the oats for the mouthfeel. You like we were talking earlier. You got the depth of the crystal, and some Munich in there to give it a bit more depth. And you got
You
the
need
roast,
a middle.
You got the roast of the barley and the chocolate. So yeah, no, that sounds like a perfect recipe.
Now, personally, I think too that one of the important things on these is to use a pretty neutral yeast.
Mm-hmm.
I really
Yes.
don't. I think even though if you're using an English yeast, like I use Nottingham a lot on
Uh-huh.
these type of beers. In my opinion, Nottingham is a very mild. It's got a little bit of ester character to it, but in a beer like this, it kind of disappears and blends into the background.
Yeah.
And I really don't like to have esters in these beers that are noticeable in and of themselves.
I would be tempted on this particular beer to use Mango Jack Empire.
Yes,
Empire.
the Empire would be great.
Empire does not attenuate very very well as opposed to other yeast, so it's going to leave a bit of residual sweetness.
It's a great English yeast with a restrained ester profile, which is exactly what I think works well for
Yeah.
beers like this.
Yeah.
You've turned me on to the Empire, and
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
If you're looking for a bit of residual sweetness, that's from whatever beer you're brewing, and certain styles will call for that. That's definitely a yeast to use.
Yeah. So the last one I want to get into on here that we haven't talked a whole lot in detail about is the Irish Stout, which is formerly known as a dry stout, which is basically Guinness Draft.
So I was about to say that were you able to get us a?
I was able to. I just thought it was too easy.
Oh, come on, Nigel! Like because I think this is that one beer that.
Well, did you have other ones that we were going to drink that we need to talk about before we move on to the Irish Stout?
It's either that or take them home with me.
Well, no.
So it's one of
I got
those.
some oatmeal
Oh,
stout.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
You see, look what I'm
this
doing.
beer here.
I'm
That
jumping
one's good
over to
stuff.
something. I'm skipping completely over the oatmeal stout.
Oh yeah, you did.
Like an asshole.
So this kind of falls in between the American stout and the sweet stout. To me, it does. As far as flavor, and you look at the stats, ABV,
It's going to be a bolder flavor and more of a chewy body to it. It's not going to have the bitterness or the hop character that an American stout's going to have. It's going to be a different type of chewy body than the sweet stout has.
Yeah, and it's going to give you a mouthfeel that's going to
a little more velvety,
be silky.
a little
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
One year at the Cap and Hair Christmas party, James Lalonde did a thing where he took a bunch of these and he put them in a cooler full of hot water and he got them hot.
Ooh.
So they were like 90 degrees and then he served them with brownies.
Oh
He
man.
did it. Now, personally, I did not like it.
Okay.
My wife loved it. And
Yeah.
my wife is a real stout drinker. She loves stouts. And she thought it was the coolest thing. And I think I was in the minority when it came to not liking it. I just don't like warm beer. I couldn't get past that. But
So Blue Bonnet last year, I brewed 10 gallons of oatmeal stout. I put 5 gallons in a cask and served it through the beer engine. And I put 5 gallons on CO2. And the 5 gallons on CO2 was nothing. Absolutely, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 2 compared with the version I put on cask and served through the beer engine.
You know what you need to do next year? Serve it through a beer engine through Twix.
and butt chug it.
No, through Twix.
Well, it's
Just go
that might be
sparkler
that,
straight in the
that
bean.
might be an option is to hand out a Twix every time we pour an oatmeal stout. I think that
or
would
do
be
like
fantastic.
a hop rocket full of Twix.
That might
right in your butt.
we're not doing butts with my oatmeal stout. All right, we're not doing that. But it made the mouthfeel that the
Well, that
the
makes a lot
cask
of
gives
sense.
it.
The creaminess and the chewiness
Yeah,
is
it
the
was
key
fantastic.
to that style. And I really feel like the cask would accentuate that.
Yeah,
you know.
it was really good. So I'm looking for suggestions on style for this year's cask beer for Blue Bonnet.
So Sandra just did comment that in her Cicerone class they did brownies and warm oatmeal stout.
There you go.
So that
Might have been this one. Yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah, personally, I'm not a fan of it, but it is worth trying because I think I'm in the minority on that. I think the people that were around me when we did it liked it a lot more than I did, and if nothing else,
Brandon wanted to be a rebel and be like, "Fuck you guys, I don't agree."
well, I like what I like, and but if nothing else, it does bring out flavors in it that you don't taste when it's cold.
And I must admit, I brewed that oatmeal stout and I was like, wow, this has got some weird off flavor to it, but it is the oatmeal flavor. I mean, it's
Well, this one that we're drinking right now.
yes,
I mean,
it has it. It's
a
right
different
there.
character,
Yeah, it completely is. And so that gives me encouragement to know that the recipe I brewed is pretty good.
One of the things about using the oatmeal in there that I really like is I don't think it's like lactose, which is unforgiving. I think oatmeal is forgiving. It doesn't really add a whole lot of tangible unfermentables in there. It's a weird sort of intangible mouthfeel, just like a creaminess and a chewiness to it that you can't really put your finger on.
Right.
But it's just different.
Yeah, so I mean, you're right. It gives that sort of extra character without being over the top, stepping all over the recipe. And
I don't know that if you gave me like 3 or 4 stouts and said, guess the difference in these, I'd be able to say, well, this one has oatmeal in it and this one doesn't, or whatever.
no, but I'd be able to point out that it's got a different flavor profile.
Exactly. It's a little bit more of an intangible thing, I think.
So my oatmeal stout recipe's got just under 11% of oats in it, flaked oats.
Okay. Yeah.
And so nothing over the top. And again, it's basically English base malt. And then some crystal, some roasted, and some chocolate. and then some pale chocolate on top of that. So again, as we were talking about with stouts, it's a little bit of a step process as far as has got some crystal and then some roasted, and then of course in this case it's got some oatmeal flake oats as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few distinct layers. in
step,
there.
yeah, that's right. Layers, that's the right word. Yeah.
Okay, so look in your magic box of beer over there, and there's an imperial stout from Panther Island that I just picked up today. It starts with a E, or no, a B.
For butt.
For butt,
but
yes.
But yeah,
Is it that one?
B for butt. I don't know. All I see is silver.
That's
so
completely silver. Oh.
Imperial. Yes, that one is it. So that's an imperial oatmeal stout.
Okay.
They don't list it on the label there as an oatmeal, but in the tap room. So I tried it earlier. I think it's a pretty good example of an imperial oatmeal stout.
What are we talking about, imperial? Because imperial can be 8%.
10.5.
10.5. And what's the regular oatmeal stout?
4.2 to 5.9.
It's double.
So it's a double.
Yeah.
It's a big imperial.
Which again, I am a big fan of big old stouts.
It's a
but
big old pour too.
what we're gonna do here, and last time we came up with kind of a basic recipe that everybody went by, a general idea for a grain bill or whatever. What I want to do here is everybody just kind of brew their regular old everyday stout, and bring it in, because I don't have. Well, now you got.
Now you do.
I'm going to discover one.
Yeah.
I've got 2 or 3 of them. It's going to be a debate for me what to do. Nigel will not be happy when I say this, but one of my very favorite ones is I have just an Irish stout or dry stout recipe that I put on nitro that I just love.
No, actually, you say that. What I believe is the most appropriate style for nitro is stout.
Okay, all right.
And
Definitely.
To the point that I've got a 6-tap Keyser that I've got a tap spare, and I am believing that I'm going to put nitro tap on it.
I'd love it.
Because I think I'm going to brew, when I brew stout, I'm going to throw that on there.
The only thing I don't love about that is that nitro, the tank, goes a lot faster than CO2 does.
That's why
it's a pain in the ass to get it filled.
Does it really?
Oh, a lot. Well, CO2 is liquid.
Yeah.
Beer gas is not. It's gas. So the same size tank is a 5-pound tank in CO2. It's a 5 cubic foot tank in beer gas. So I get 2 kegs out of one tank. And I have to go drop it off somewhere inconvenient, leave it there for a week, go pick it back up. Wow. It's who knows what it's going to cost. Sometimes it's $16, sometimes it's $30. I don't know.
Holy wow!
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Beer gas is a pain in the ass to deal with.
So I've got what I plan to do is do a 5-gallon stout and put 2.5 on CO2 and 2.5 on nitro, and just have 2 taps to that stout and have 2 versions of it.
You know what? That would be a fun. That would be a good subject to do for just a quick segment, is how to do nitro beers.
Yeah.
What beer gas is, how to deal with a nitro tap, because it is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Personally, the
I
first
don't know a
time
lot
I ever
about
did
it,
it, I
so-
thought, holy shit, this is my favorite thing I've ever had in my house. and I've done a mild on there, and I've done a bitter, and I've done the Mockingbird ESB.
I still got to get I
shit.
still got to get that beer engine ready,
Yes.
So not everything needs to be
and
a
then
nitro,
that will be
though.
your new favorite too.
No, not everything. No, there's a few. There's like 4 or 5 styles that are good on it.
Yeah, well,
But-
exactly.
And none of them are English except stout. Let's just get that right out of the way.
I think
okay?
I had a wit beer. Was it Sam Adams that did?
They did a wheat beer on nitro.
I think it's them that they did like the little widgets in the cans, right?
Not that cherry wheat.
And one of them was a wit beer. They did
was
like
not a part of that. I have no idea.
It was all your fault, Tyler.
yeah, like he
Usually
piped,
is.
but yeah. So that was a couple years ago, but anyway, yeah, nitro is not meant for every beer.
I totally agree.
But I think
That's a whole tangent we could go off on. Beer engines and nitro.
a stout.
Did you break your glass? No.
We'll talk about that later.
A stout on nitro though is the presentation is so pretty. It's just a really cool.
When you're at your own house and you take an imperial pint glass and you pour a pint of stout, and you get the cascading bubbles down the side.
And you
See,
went,
and that
you
was
went
your
at Blue
own
Bonnet
house.
this year, right?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, so I poured this oatmeal stout, and it was just like, I don't know, it was just fantastic to see this dark beer cascade down through the glass and turn into from brown into black, and it came up from the bottom, and it just left this creamy off-white tan head, and it was
There's
just like,
something about it, and that's why I wanted to do this, because this is getting left behind. You don't find it anymore.
You know, fair,
you have to
fair
do
enough.
it yourself. You know.
Say, but I get that because the blueberry Berliner that we did this summer, that just came out almost purple.
Yeah.
Like every time I poured one, like
yeah,
it was like a mini orgasm.
yeah,
like,
that's
it was
right.
like
it's just like,
it was
my
like,
God,
wow,
look how good that is.
Oh, exactly.
And I did that.
It was weird, but it was good. So yeah, I love this idea because this stout that we're drinking now, it's an imperial oatmeal from Panther Island. They're friends of mine, so it's really good. But I could have one, and that's it. Like I can't sit out back.
I really like this beer a lot.
I do too, but I'd much rather have a lot of the oatmeal stout.
That's
we
the
just
problem.
had.
Is I would have a lot of this, and I'd get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
This actually drinks like it's a regular.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does.
It doesn't drink
But
10.5. Definitely,
It does not.
It still drinks heavier
is a
than
problem.
the oatmeal stout we just had, the Sam Smith.
It does. Yeah. It
you
does.
know. So
Okay. So that's
we
kind
do
of
have more.
Okay. So,
Oh, we have more. Okay.
Oh, we have more.
so I think
let's do it, man.
I think
we
right
got
here.
3 more.
Oh, that's right. We haven't talked about Irish stout either. So.
Well,
All
and
right. Let's
okay,
get them
we got
rolling.
3
Let's do
more
it.
plus Irish stout.
Okay, so as you pour those, I'm gonna give an Aaron Rodgers secret. He sent me the video a couple months ago, and you take a little syringe, and you pour a little bit of your 5 cc's of your stout,
Stick it in your bee.
stick it in the beer,
Stick
and
it
then
anywhere?
and then you plunge it really quickly, and it gives a nitro-esque effect. He's probably going to
Oh,
correct me on
man.
how I was wrong on that description, but it's
Well, you're gonna
I
make
saw that
Nigel
video. It's
angry. Is what
actually-
you're gonna do.
It was actually pretty cool.
I've
Yeah,
given
yeah.
up on being angry.
I don't know how
Really? I don't buy
No.
that for a
differently it
second.
tastes, but it was
ooh,
cool.
wait, hold on, we're going big now.
No, we're not.
No, we're
No,
doing
we're not.
The,
Pour the beer.
I
Pour the
know
beer.
this beer. Where's the glass?
We are
See, you're
talking.
angry. Don't tell me you're not angry.
Oh no. Okay, so I apologize, Nigel. I thought this beer was a lot bigger.
No, we're talking. What we got here, Brandon, is Dragon Milk Gold. Is it called, or white?
Dragon Milk White.
Dragon Milk White.
White beers matter.
So
This is under 7%, I believe.
I'm gonna put the challenge out there to
it's
Sandra.
6%.
Yeah, it's 6.
I'm gonna put the challenge out there to Sandra for her to do a white stout again.
So Greg and I
I'm
brewed
just throwing that out there. She's done it once, and
I'm
it
gonna
didn't-
say Greg and I brewed a beer that was a stout or a coffee beer with lots of roasted malts. They were done, I believe, at the very end of the mash and start of the sparge to keep the colour out. It can be done.
So I've heard about this before, and I've always wanted to have one of these that was well done, because generally you break down the stout flavor into components, and then you put those components in a way that doesn't require dark malt. So like star anise and coffee and
What'd you
vanilla and
say?
that kind of thing.
Said anise, not anus.
This is not.
No, it's not.
It's not. This just tastes like it has vanilla in it to me.
Yeah,
Yeah, lots of vanilla.
yeah, that's exactly it. So back in the day, my wife said to me, I wanted a beer that's
Doesn't
light.
taste like beer.
No, well, yeah, she doesn't. It doesn't taste like beer. It doesn't taste like beer, but it's light in color. But I want it to be chocolate. I want it to have some coffee. I want it to have some raspberries. Well, we took the raspberries out because you got to get the base beer set first, right? and so Greg and I brewed a beer, and it turned into a very much of a coffee beer, but we kept the fruit out of it.
Uh huh.
But it didn't have enough chocolate in it, and it came through as more of a golden coffee beer. But it was this color, but it was all coffee.
I've had several golden coffee beers that I really like.
Yeah, and like I say, if we'd have readdressed it, we would have taken some of the coffee out, some of the chocolate in it, and then put the fruit into it later on. It never got to that point. But my point here is that the stouts can be achieved through the same sort of methods, but they're not. This particular beer is not.
This
a
is
good
not.
example.
Now, having said that, this is good. This is really
It is
good. I like
but
it a
it's
lot.
but it's not an
It's
example of what we're
certainly-
searching for.
What I've heard are there are beers out there that are this color that you close your eyes and you don't know and you think you're drinking a stout.
So
I've never
I
had
just have to say I put it out there live, and Sandra's texting me, and she just said challenge accepted. So
Okay.
I promise you, when we revisit this, because
Oh,
I
she's
know
healthy enough to accept challenges, but not to.
So you're when we come back with examples of stouts, she's gonna have a
Sandra's
golden.
she's gonna have a golden,
Excellent.
because like I
That's
said,
good.
we tried it 2 years ago when we were still brewing extract, and we had a really good beer, but it was very on the coffee side. So with our knowledge now, I promise you she's gonna nail this, and we're all gonna be, like, oh shit, like
Yeah, she's probably gonna kick all our asses. We're gonna come in with regular stouts,
doubted
and she'll come in with this golden one that's better than our regular stouts.
that she'll then blindfold us to try, and we won't be able to tell it from, So
All right. So this next one we're passing around is
there's more beer.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there is. There's two more.
I gotta get going on these. I gotta drink them.
This next one is what a lot of us are aware of with when it comes to stouts is bourbon barrel aged. Okay. So, this is 11.8%. This is pretty big.
So this is what we're not talking about.
It's not what we're
but
aiming
still-
This is on the
but
far
still-
end of things.
Very happy to
But-
pour a glass of.
Right. So when you said, "Hey, get some stouts," I wanted to get a wide range of varying stouts, not knowing what you'd put on the sheets is what we were looking for, but I wanted to know that we had an American stout, a basic English stout with, or an oatmeal stout. The only one I missed out on was the Irish stout, but I wanted to make sure we had something that was barrel aged. Because so many beers that we deal with these days are indeed barrel aged.
And this is
I
the
am-
Boulevard, right?
Boulevard, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but yeah, it's 11.8%.
I am
Whiskey
unapologetic.
barreled stout.
This is my jam.
Yeah.
Barrel aged stouts, these big boozy, something that
They're
this
so goddamn good.
this time of year that I light a fire and Sandra and I split a bomber of over the course of an hour or
Right.
more.
Yeah.
Sitting there just sipping on it,
And
it's
that's the
just
distinction
so
that I'm trying to make is a sipping beer versus just
A
a
session
regular
beer.
drinking beer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because you're right. I absolutely love that. You light a fire, you pour it, you look over an hour later, you still
It's
have
still
some
got
in,
some.
in your glass, and it's
But
just
it's still got head retention too.
and it's different from the beginning of the beer to the end of the beer as it warms up, it
Yep.
changes and opens up and that kind of thing.
My God, that's
Love
a
them to death.
fantastic beer.
Love them to death. Yeah.
To me, there is nothing sexier than a beer that you pour this pint, this
Just
whatever.
want to poke it, right?
Well, not only you
Now-
want to poke it.
Now, when you say nothing sexy,
It's a poke
does
of
Sandra
beer.
agree with
No-
that?
nothing sexier in the beer world.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to get some clarity there.
that you get one of these big stouts that you can't drink all of. Like you drink all of it and then you let it sit there for another minute and then you realize, oh shit, there's a little bit of like syrupy like
It's still
goodness
on
in
the
like,
glass, yeah.
It's like as it settles, like you cannot drink all of that beer because it has those sexy legs that the settling and
You're at a
you know,
homebrew
it's-
club meeting, you get a pour of it, you drink it, and you're like, I can't get another beer in this glass, so I actually go rinse it out with water because this glass is coated with this beer. Yeah.
Yes, that's that.
But you have to be careful, right? Because it soon becomes soy sauce. Especially on the
yes.
Imperials.
Yeah,
Well,
Not so much on the barrel age, but
For-
certainly on the Imperials.
For me,
it
beer is
can,
for
definitely.
drinking. I drink beer. I buy a beer and I drink
I hear
it.
you.
I don't save it.
Neither do I.
But-
my
but
beer
some of
fridge
them-
goes empty real fast.
Yeah,
Right.
like so I did a barrel aged talking about this. I did a barrel aged stout a couple 6 months ago. I put it in bottles. Tyler tried some of it out at Iron Mash.
Iron Mash, right?
Iron Mash. I cracked my first bottle, and it was still a little hot. It still was a little boozy. It's one of the few beers that I'm just gonna let sit, and
There you go.
you
There's
occasionally
a
have
difference
to.
between letting sit to get to its peak and putting something away for 2 years and,
Forgetting about it.
right.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I can do that.
You can, but I've also had those beers where you open them and you go, this is past its prime.
Yeah.
And
I
you're like,
waited for
"God
this.
Damn it.
I waited too long.
So what's really fun, and maybe we'll have to do this
rather
as,
drink it too early.
as a mini segment. I have a bunch of pumpkin beers, a bunch
Oh.
of St. Arnold's,
I'm out.
I'm in.
St. Pumpkinator. I have
Yes.
multiple years, and I think that might be fun as like a little 15-minute segment
Got
for
like
this show.
5 years, don't you?
Hell yeah.
Oh,
We'll
I have
just
a
do it,
5
you
or
and
6
I.
year like.
I don't
Yeah,
even care if
and we'll-
anybody likes listening to it. Fuck it, man.
But to see how the pumpkin has changed.
I don't care what the Olympic Committee thinks about that at all. They can take us off of Facebook. Motherfuckers. I don't know
on
what
YouTube though.
It's
Are we
just-
still on
You
YouTube?
should
Yeah.
say what you think.
it is Macy's. It's Macy's clip that's coming back to haunt.
yeah, it's got to be
The
it's
Olympic
gotta be that
Committee.
clip.
Well, he is a prolific Olympic athlete at his very
Macy?
core. Yeah.
He just doesn't know it.
Right.
So-
right.
so
He
do we
doesn't
have
know
any-
it. We don't know it. And apparently only Facebook knows
Do we
it.
have any more beer, Nigel? I know we have at least one more Panther beer. It's an Imperial beer.
There is one beer sitting in this cooler.
It's the beer I have not tried.
Or maybe I don't know.
No, I've not tried this Panther beer. They just
yours.
This one?
Oh,
yeah, that one there.
Imperial Coffee Stout.
It's a coffee stout. They actually used some cold brew coffee in this beer. I've yet to try it, so
All right, let's see what it's got.
and I went, of course, because I'm the American. Nigel's the Brit, but I'm the American, so I went big American.
really?
I went Imperial American, Imperial oatmeal Imperial coffee, but that's also what I.
So
could
you
get
went over the
close
top.
To I also went what I could get close to the shop.
So you went overboard.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
Yay, Brandon's
hey,
back.
Brandon's back.
There's a lot of beer drinking going on here. I got to pee.
Okay.
I do have to say,
You got the bladder of a
somebody
12-year-old girl. Have I
completely
said that
ruined
before?
that bathroom in there. I don't know who, but
I think it was you.
I
I've
mean,
used the
it's-
women's only tonight, so
that's
that
a
would
smart
be
move.
that would be you, Brandon. So this here is also the new release from Panther. It's the EOS.
Y'all. Like the incredible Mr. Limpet.
It's their Imperial Coffee Stout. For you guys that are local, Sandra's going to start taking over their pilot system there here real
Oh,
soon.
really?
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
so some of the pilot system is going to be Murphy's Law beer and Sandra's brainchild.
God help us.
Yeah. Because she already accepted the challenge from earlier.
Woo,
So
that's fair.
That is coffee, baby.
It is an Imperial Coffee Stout.
Oh, that is
that's lots of coffee.
a
Yeah,
lot of coffee in that. Yeah,
That's a lot.
a lot of coffee. Yeah, for a 10% beer
whole
were
lot
to
of
be
coffee.
completely dominated by coffee like that's a lot of coffee.
Yeah, you don't. I expect to get like a caffeine boost, not
Yeah,
like a buzz.
I
Yeah,
guess how am I
gonna
going to sleep
happen
tonight?
So
In the buff, I imagine. That's how I imagine.
Yeah, you should.
so for any of y'all that
Full
are
banana.
How else is there to go?
That's right, baby.
You got to go full banana
Yeah,
or
when
no
you got
banana.
it. You got it.
Yeah, that's right.
So for any of y'all that are local, Panther does right now have their Sweet Fang variant. It's Fang Bang. They have two different variants, and it's basically the
Fang what?
Fang bang.
Yeah.
It's a full banana stout.
It is. It actually is a non-nut banana stout.
Hang on.
They don't have the peanut butter in
Time
it.
It's a what?
So, swing by there and try some of their stuff.
So it's no nuts, full banana.
Exactly.
That's good because my wife tells me she has a nut allergy. So
I think Tyler just did a stout that was all banana, no nut.
what?
So
I did a
so
peanut,
is it eunuch?
peanut butter chocolate stout with a hef yeast on it, using Taurus hops, which give a chocolate and banana flavor to it. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
I believe we've lost the maturity to deal with what you just said. And
so
Nigel can't
In
even.
that room, yes, you're probably right.
I think I'm just
Yeah,
gonna start
in
to
the-
wrap
I'm
it
not
up. So.
yeah.
So if any of our Patreons out there want to brew, we're all here in the next week or
Yes.
so going to brew a stout. Like you heard what we talked about. The common characteristics are very dark color, usually opaque, fairly complex malt profile, roast, coffee, and chocolate flavors, generally above a 10-10 final gravity, generally neutral yeast profile, and little or no hop flavor. Brew something, we're going to probably be several weeks out for all of us having ours available.
This one I'm far more confident in than the pale ales. This is my lane. I mean, I've got a couple of recipes.
So we're all
we're
gonna
hold
blow.
you against this.
Oh, the gauntlet has been thrown.
Yeah, no,
Like,
this one I'm very confident in.
Brandon is walking around crotch first.
That's right, full banana, baby.
Yeah, full banana.
eggplant out.
No, the pale ale is a style I love, but I don't brew, and I was unsuccessful in my attempt, completely unsuccessful, totally unsatisfied with what I did. But with some of these basic stouts that are your regular old drinking stouts, I do these all the time. These are my favorites. So
All right.
Let's go.
Game
yeah, let's do
on.
it, man.
I look forward to it. The pale ales were fun. They surprised me. They came out very different.
You know, they make me want
So-
to do that again and get a recipe dialed in because
Yeah.
failing so gloriously is not.
So what version of the stout do you think you're going to do?
I am probably going to do an Irish stout.
Okay, cool. Michael?
I'm probably gonna go American.
Tyler?
Nice,
Probably oatmeal.
Nice.
very good, very good.
I think I'm heading oatmeal too. I've got a good oatmeal recipe. So
And I've already called Sandra out. She's gonna do the white stout.
she's going to do the golden, right?
The golden stout.
yeah.
Not non-traditional, but along the same lines, kind of thing.
And very
Yeah.
difficult. Like I probably
el-
won't have sex for a week for throwing her under the bus
You don't
for that.
deserve
But
it
hey,
anyway.
you know.
So
Boy, is that all it takes?
I could go with that sex at a blink of an eye if I wanted to. You know.
Of course, I was also told several minutes ago we'd gone off the rails. So
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
That's good.
That's the thing with these stouts. It's easy to do. We start getting into them and like, well, here's a 10%, here's a barrel aged, here's a coffee, and we're like, this is exactly what we were trying to get away from, and because
it happened anyway.
Yeah.
stout is so much fun to do all these things with.
It
It's
is.
a great base beer to put coffee in and to make imperial and to barrel age and all this stuff. You know, and
you
so
change-
that's why I'm saying I
Yeah.
love all of those things. I do, but I also love a nice basic drinkable
Just
stout.
something
And that's
I-
what we're gonna go. So
I
I think
100%
that's why I'm
agree.
gonna do the Irish stout.
So hang on. Let's cover this in its entirety. Brandon, you can do it an Irish stout.
Yes.
You're going to do
the American.
the American. You're going to do the oatmeal. So that leaves me with either the sweet or the Irish extra stout, and somebody else.
You could do it. You could do it.
You can do another
Yeah,
oatmeal.
well let's cover as many as we can.
All right.
So I'm good with doing a sweet stout,
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
and then let's have somebody else do an Irish extra stout if we
Greg.
can get them.
Who else is?
Chris Crowley.
Chris,
There we
there
go.
you go.
Chris.
There we go.
Chris can do the
Chris
Irish
Crowley.
extra.
Chris is gonna do the Irish extra. All right.
And
Yeah.
again, I'm throwing Sandra under the bus. She's doing the golden
She's
stout.
going. That's a bonus.
Bonus.
Yeah.
Bonus beer.
Yep.
You know what? She's the only one really that has the easy job. If that doesn't come out right, it's a crazy thing that's hard to do that nobody has a template for. If one of ours doesn't come out right, we messed up a basic thing. You know, so really you gave her a pass is what you
There you
did.
go. He just made sure he's going to get laid in the future. That's all.
That's
Wow.
so.
Can't
thank
blame
you.
him for that, right?
Yeah, got to
an
look out for
interesting
number
dynamic.
one. So, thank you for listening to Come and Brew It Radio. In future episodes, we're going to taste some of our stouts, stout brews, and have an exciting competition.
What? We're going to do what?
Did I write that?
We,
Yeah, stop
yes.
Hang on.
In fairness, it looks better on paper.
And we're going to have some exciting competition that'll pit us against each other and ultimately ruin all of our friendships.
Yes.
I hate you all already.
That is going to happen. If we can get more than 2 or 3 people to show up for a show and we can get this idea completely nailed down how we do it, we are going to have a really cool competition between us that I'm looking really forward to.
Yes,
man.
definitely. So in speaking to that, Eric, Tommy, like, we're with you, brother. That foundation repair's been a bitch.
Eric's had a week or two of nightmares with his house, so that's
He would have been here tonight
Yeah.
had foundation worked in his favor.
So I shouldn't say I think he's a whiny ass and should be here.
no, you shouldn't say that.
Okay, I shouldn't say
No.
that.
No.
Just kidding, Eric. I'm with you,
So
dude.
somebody can read the second part there again.
Oh, hang on. We got
Again,
more
please
parts.
be sure to check out. Like, there you go, Nigel.
Again. Please be sure to check out. No, I'm not doing that either. Please be sure to check out our Patreon account at patreon.com/come and brew it radio to help support the show. We have 2, 5, 10, and 20
Sorry,
dollar options because
Every little bit
counts.
there you go.
Wow. All right.
It's going to get us a hop
Plus, we
aroma
want to
chart.
reward you while you help keep the show going, get involved, and improve it. In fact, we'll literally reward a lucky Patreon listener with every live show and have a random drawing from the names of all our $5, $10, and $20 Patreons for a prize at the end of every month. You just have to be a Patreon. Thanks again for listening to Come and Brew It Radio. Be sure to share with your friends on social media. Give us some ratings on iTunes and Stitcher. And send any ideas or comments to info@texasbrewinginc.com. Also, you can always check in on the Brew Days of the Guys at their Brew Focus pages at Brew with Stubby, Brew with Brando, Brew with Chris, Brew with Greg, and Brew with Nigel.
Come and brew it.
Come and brew it.
Come and brew it. Come and brew it.
Ah, ah.
Whoa.